Okay, so I told you that storytelling is an art. कथावाचक जिसे कहते थे. And when there was radio, now we have other technologies as well. Then, so I still remember when I was a kid, I eagerly wait for that session, the storytelling session, where a nice person, whoever is the speaker, they used to tell a story in such a manner that we, as a listener, were able to imagine things. So we are also going. So today we are going to read story about a storyteller, Ishwaran. His name is Ishwaran, and the way he used to tell the story, that itself is actually a very interesting, a quality. So Ishwaran was quite, qualified for being a storyteller. Now, before starting this story, I would like to tell you something about the writer. I think you all have heard about R.K. Narayan. R.K. Narayan, you have heard? Do you know about R.K.
Yes,
Narayan?
ma'am.
Yes. Can you tell me,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, which story? Any famous story, famous book? Anything about him?
Malgudi Times.
Yes, very good. Malgudi Days. Yes, he's very, very famous for Malgudi Days. You know, when I was kid and we have only Doordarshan, in our time, we used to see a series on Malgudi Days. I think this is available on YouTube. So whenever you are getting an opportunity, please go through these things. Okay. So Malgudi Days. He's famous for Malgudi Days, but actually he was a prolific writer. Now but this story is not written by R.K. Narayan. Then who is the writer of this story? R.K.
R.K.
Lakshman.
Laxman.
Yes, his brother, his younger sibling, okay, R.K. Lakshman. Now, do you know something about R.K. Lakshman? Have you heard his name? I will tell you. He was a famous, very famous
Yes,
Indian
ma'am.
cartoonist. Okay, Siddhi Singh, what do you know about him? He was an Indian
Cartoonist.
Yes, cartoonist. And nowadays, I think, but still, you will see specifically in the paper, The Times of India, some of his most famous creations. And he's best known for his creation, The Common Man, and for his daily cartoon strip. And the paper, The Times of India, which started in 1959, and every day one of his cartoon was appearing in the newspaper. Those cartoons were based on common man and also politics. It was related to some political sarcasm also. R.K. Lakshman, actually, he started his career as a part-time cartoonist, and he worked for local newspapers, magazine. But when he was a college student, then his older brother R.K. Lakshman stories that was appearing in the paper Hindu. There he actually got a job, and he started making cartoons on his brother's story. His first full-time job was a political cartoonist for the Free Press Journal in Mumbai. And thereafter, I told you, as I have told you, he joined the Times of India and became famous for the common man character, which turned out to be the turning point in his life. Okay, and not only that, when this Malgudi Days started appearing in the form of episodes, not only on television but also in newspapers, then he started making cartoons on that Malgudi Days also. That was his greatest thing. He always did that. He was very famous. People started recognizing his the peculiar way of making cartoon. Okay, and thereafter he also wrote novels. He was writer. He was not very famous writer, but yes, he wrote some novels, few novels. Some famous novel, maybe you might be knowing, but it's not very important to remember the name. But yeah, he wrote some novels. His cartoons have appeared in Hindi films also. One famous Hindi film, Mr. and Mrs. 55, and then in Tamil film also. Okay, his creations also include the sketches drawn for the television adaptation of Malgudi Days, as I told you, which was obviously written by R.K. Narayan. And then also Wagle Ki Duniya. One serial was coming on, our national Doordarshan. There also some comic strips, some cartoon strips was appearing. So in this manner, because this name is not unknown to anyone, R.K. Laxman, and I want you to remember his name, that because he is famous for his, very great cartoon. Now this story, Ishwaran the Storyteller, it's a simple story written by him. I will not tell that it's a very great story, but yeah, you are going to be introduced to a character, Ishwaran, and his qualities. The title of this chapter itself will tell you that this story revolves around the important character, that is Ishwaran. He is called the storyteller. Why? Because as storytelling is an art, as I told you, it's an art, he is very, very good at it. Ishwaran uses special effects, as I showed you before beginning of the class, that voice modulation, how, and also he uses body language to make the story realistic, so that the listener, Mahendra, gets, the listener, you will later on know about the character Mahendra. He was so much captivated. Captivated means mesmerized, मंत्रमुग्ध, पूरा खो जाता था उसके स्टोरी में, and his story. And so, R.K. Lakshman, he want to highlight this quality of Iswaran, that he was so good at telling stories that they appear to be real. इतने अच्छे से स्टोरीज बताता था जैसे लगता था कोई सच्ची बता रहा है. Although the stories are fictitious, most of his stories are fictitious, fiction होते थे. But the way he used to tell, I cannot tell you that Mahendra, the listener, was always thinking, oh, this is the real story. And obviously, these stories were the source of entertainment for the listener, Mahendra, that you will see. Okay? Now, some mystery. You will find out कि तुम्हें थोड़ा सा लगेगा कि ये एक maybe थोड़ा सा horror story है या something, that we will decide after listening the entire story. So, let's begin the story. Now look at the lines. I'm going to explain you each and every line. Look at the words also. The story was narrated to Ganesha by a young man, Mahendra, by name. Now, who actually narrated this story? Mahendra narrated a story about his cook Ishwaran to Ganesh. अब महेंद्रा, उसे भी शायद थोड़ी सी क्वालिटी आ गई हो, किसकी? ईश्वरन की, because Ishwaran has narrated so many stories to him that the listener Mahendra also maybe adapted a little bit of quality, and then he is, अब यहाँ Mahendra is the narrator who is actually narrating this entire story related to Ishwaran to his friend Ganesh. He was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered on hire supervisors at various types of construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. Mahendra's job was to keep an eye on the activities at work site. He had to keep moving from place to place every now and then, as ordered by his head office, from a coal mining area to a railway bridge, railway bridge construction site. From there, after a few months, to a chemical plant, which was coming up somewhere. Now, see, it's an introduction. In this entire paragraph, you will come to know about Mahendra, who is actually obviously he is the main person to whom Ishwaran used to tell his stories. Okay. Now, Mahendra worked as a junior supervisor in a company. Supervisor, a person who supervises the work. काम की जो देखरेख करता है, a person whose job is to check whether the work of the other people is being done or not. Supervisory करना. Okay. Supervise, to check. So, Mahendra was working as a junior supervisor in a company which provided junior supervisor to various construction companies on rent. So, definitely, they were sending him to different construction sites wherever the work is in progress. He got posted at different sites, means anywhere, कहीं भी company भेज देता था उसे, like factories, bridges, dams, कहीं भी जहाँ भी construction work is going on, either it is a factory or a bridge or a dam, wherever this construction work was going on, Mahendra was sent there. Matlab frequent transfer he was being done. Mahendra's work was to keep an eye on all the workers at the site, and as a supervisor, he has to look after the work. He had to change places often, and on and off from here and there. Okay, and worked at various places like coal mine, railway bridge construction site, and the construction site of a chemical plant. So anywhere he was sent. He was not even knowing that where his next transfer will be, but it used to be done. Now see, screen is visible, children, and my voice is okay. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
very good. Now see, next page. He was a bachelor. His needs were simple and he was able to adjust himself to all kinds of odd conditions. Whether it was an ill-equipped circuit house or a makeshift canvas tent in the middle of a stand quarry. So, first of all, let me see. He was a bachelor. Bachelor, you all know, unmarried. And that is why his needs were simpler. Since Mahendra was unmarried, he did not have a family. He was able to live in these temporary quarters provided at the construction sites. Even it is ill equipped, badly equipped means no, जैसे generally furnished flat होते हैं शहरों में, but even it is ill equipped, no facility, not complete facility was there. Circuit house, you know, circuit house होता है guest house जैसा, okay, or a makeshift canvas. Even he was able to adjust in canvas, वो जो tent होते हैं, you would have seen that on construction remote areas में तुम देखोगे construction sites पे people are even engineers, they are also labor class people, supervisor, so they have to settle down, they have to adjust in these places without even having the basic amenities. So they are trying to adjust themselves, even the tents which was actually temporary. और कहीं भी क्वेरी मतलब माइंस के पास भी, ओके, इवन द दिस कैनवस टेंट इन द मिडिल ऑफ अ स्टैंड क्वेरी, एक बहुत बड़ा माइंस के बीच में भी, क्योंकि यू वुड हैव सीन दिस, दीज आर द वे बिकॉज दे कैन नॉट एवरीडे कम्यूट, ओके, अगर हर दिन उन्हें 20, 30, 40 किलोमीटर कहीं जाना होगा होटल में या कहीं, देन इट विल टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. So for that reason, they were making temporary arrangements for themselves. But since Mahendra was bachelor, unmarried, okay, he was able to settle down in whatever situation he was being asked. Okay, but one advantage, लेकिन फिर भी Mahendra was lucky. Why? Mahendra had why that, but one asset he had was his cook Ishwaran. The cook was quite attached to Mahendra and followed him uncomplainingly wherever he was posted. He cooked for Mahendra, washed his clothes, and chatted away with his master at night. He could weave out endless stories and anecdotes on varied subjects. Anecdotes, you know? Anecdotes कहते हैं, endless stories, anecdote synonym है उसका, a short, amusing, interesting story. समझ रहे हो? This is a new word for you, anecdote. Now, one good thing was there with Mahendra. What was that? He had an advantage, an asset. Who is this asset? His was accompanied by his cook Ishwaran. Now, Ishwaran, this man, he was doing multiple tasks for him. He was not only cook. Ishwaran, he was doing everything. Ishwaran was very close to Mahendra, and that is why he was ready to go with him everywhere. He never complained about the tough condition in which he had to live. Obviously, Mahendra was also living in the same ill-equipped places in tough condition, but he had never complained. And you know, he was doing multiple tasks for him, like cooking food for him, washing his clothes, and most importantly, सबसे बड़ी बात वो क्या करता था? Giving him company and then talking to him at night. And you know, Ishwaran had a quality that he was very good at telling stories. He entertained Mahendra with his stories, which were based on different subjects. Endless stories, small amusing stories. अब उस जमाने में definitely if you are bachelor, you have no, अब आज के जमाने में तो it is very easy to remain alone क्योंकि you have social media, you have internet, so you can you can remain connected with your friends through different sources like WhatsApp hai, phone kar lete hain because we have cell phones nowadays, we have other mode of entertainment. Even if in the remote areas data will, और कुछ मिले ना मिले तुम्हें डाटा या फिर टावर जरूर मिल जाएगा, मोबाइल टावर. So it is easy, but I'm talking about those days when we don't have the facility of these things. So, और remote area में आप हैं तो you don't have even friends. So this was the benefit for our Mahendra that Mahendra, that at least he had a company. और वो company भी इतना interesting कि not only he used to do all the household chores, सारे काम ही नहीं करता था, but also he was having a chit chat with Mahendra and always telling him amusing, interesting stories. और मैंने बताया ना, this was his quality. Not only telling a story was thing, it was his quality that he was telling stories, in such a manner that it appeared as if they are real. अभी और देखोगे कैसी कैसी stories बताता था. Ishwaran also had an amazing capacity to produce vegetables and cooking ingredients seemingly out of nowhere in the middle of desolate landscape with no shops visible for miles around. He would miraculously conjure up the most delicious dishes made with fresh vegetables within an hour of arriving at the zinc sheet shelter at the new workplace. Now, see, my dear children, so many new words are there. I want all of you to underline those words and then write down its meaning. Now, see, Ishwaran किस पास बहुत सारी qualities थी, as I know, as you all know, that he was very good in household chores, he was very good in storytelling, and right today I was talking about the culinary skill, khana banana. I told you that it's also an art. So Ishwaran also had an amazing capacity to produce vegetables. Means Mahendra was telling this story to his friend, and then he says that whenever they were shifting to new location, he would gather all the vegetables and other ingredients required by him to cook in no time. And they were leaving, they were moving to the places where people are not getting many shops, but even in the temporary shelters, okay, with roof, which is not very located in the bazaar or market, but this man has a special magic that he was collecting all the ingredients out of nowhere. Out of nowhere means they were not knowing from where he is managing. Mahendra was unknown, but this man has the quality that he was such a good cook that he was cooking something amazing even in the middle of a desolate landscape. Desolate means empty, uninhabited. एकदम मतलब अचानक इनकी शिफ्टिंग या ट्रांसफर होता था क्या, एक अजीब से जगह पे जहां कोई मार्केट नहीं है, कोई एरिया नहीं है. There also this man used to cook something very great, okay, and no shops visible for miles around. उस जगह पे भी ये जब खाना बनाता था, all of a sudden he was preparing something very nice for Mahendra. He would miraculously, amazingly conjure up. Conjure up means to gather, to create with magic. ऐसा लगता था as if he is a magician, that from where he is collecting these things and then he was providing most delicious dishes made with fresh vegetables. मतलब within an hour of arriving at a zinc sheet shelter, मतलब चाहे वो temporary shelter हो, which roof is made of metallic sheets, and he was not knowing from where he is, and though no market is in that vicinity in this area, but he was never knowing that from where this this Ishwaran was getting these, different type of fresh vegetables, and then he is preparing a very tasty meal for our Mahendra. So it was, अब ये तो एक मिराकल ही है ना, क्या पता उसके पास कोई मैजिक क्वालिटी हो, abracadabra, and then he was actually getting some green and fresh vegetable. Who knows, कोई magical wand छुपा के तो नहीं रखा है ईश्वरन, that even if they are reaching to a place where there is nothing, no market, no bazaar, no, nothing, and still he is preparing delicious things. So, bhai, definitely some mystery is there. But anyway, it is good for Mahendra. Mahendra would be up early in the morning and leave for work after breakfast, carrying some prepared food with him. Meanwhile, Ishwaran would tidy up the shed, wash the clothes, and have a leisurely bath, pouring several buckets of water over his head, muttering a prayer all the while. It would be lunchtime by then. After eating, he would read for a while before dozing off. The book was usually some popular Tamil thriller running to hundreds of pages. Its imaginative description and narrative flourishes would hold Ishwaran in thrall. Now, see, some more words, unknown words are there. In the last paragraph, desolate, conjure up, just underline these words. Now, muttering, speaking in low voice, murmuring, dozing, you all know, thoda ungna, halka sa, and then thrall, THRALL, the state of being in someone's power. जैसे कोई तुम्हें पूरा power में ले लिया है, captivated. So now Mahendra would wake up early in the morning, सुबह उठता था, get ready for his work, leave for work after having his breakfast, and also Ishwaran, you give him a lunch box. He would carry his lunch along with him. Now after that, Ishwaran would clean their living place. जो छोटे मोटे domestic chores होते थे वो करता था. Wash Mahendra's clothes and then he used to take bath. After or bathing is also very, he takes a lot of time for that. He used to take many buckets of water, pour water on his head, and then he was also mumbling some prayer. कुछ prayers भी बोलता था. After that, he take his lunch, and then, most important, यहाँ पे ध्यान दो, he used to read his favorite book, thriller book, Tamil thriller. You would have seen, तुमने देखा होगा कि some thriller books, some stories, language, local languages में Hindi also, Tamil also, Kannada means whichever local language. Some thriller books are always available. Specifically, you will find it out on railway platform. Wheeler में मिलेगा तुम्हें, तुम देखना. And people used to buy it in order to pass time. These novels are not very good for your reading habit. I will never suggest. हाँ, अगर इंग्लिश में थ्रिलर बुक्स पढ़ने हैं, then read books of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, शर्लक होम्स को पढ़ो, आगथा क्रिस्टी पढ़ो. ओके, बट लोकल जो हमारे थ्रिलर बुक्स होते हैं, दे आर नॉट वेरी गुड. बट सिंस अब ईश्वरन पढ़ सकता है बिकॉज ही इज नॉट वेरी एडुकेटेड, सो ही यूज्ड टू, he was very much, he loved these books. ये जो favorite books थे उसके, that was the Tamil thriller, local language. And Ishwaran would get carried away with the details and description given in the book that he read. He was so much पूरे thrall में ना, then he would go off sleep. So he was totally mesmerized with the story, the description, the imagination. He loved to read those books and he was lost in the imagination. शायद देखो, if you want to be a good orator, then for that you have to be a good reader. सबसे पहले याद रखो, oratory या राइटर बनने के लिए भी first of all you have to be a reader. If you want to be a good speaker, oratory, that is also an art. There also you have to be very good at reading. So perhaps now we have come to know a little bit idea we are having that maybe he is having some inborn quality. शायद उसकी इसमें quality हो उसके character में भी या उसकी personality में. But these books, these Tamil thrillers, these cheap Tamil books, were local books, were also helping him to be a good storyteller. So these books were also quite helpful for him, and every day he was reading these books for longer hours. And then what he used to do, he was mixing his own imagination, and then he used to narrate stories to Mahendra. Okay.